All right, welcome to tonight's Wednesday, January 6, 2021 Design Review Commission meeting. Could we have a roll call, please?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Commissioner Krilling.
Here.
Commissioner Gorney.
Here.
Commissioner Valia.
Here.
Vice Chair Case.
Here.
And Chair Killian.
I'm here.
We have a quorum.
All right, notice of teleconference meetings pursuant to the governor's executive order N-29-20 dated March 17, 2020. City commissioners may participate via teleconference. Teleconference locations are not open to the public pursuant to California Governor's Executive Order N-29-20. If you'd like to participate in tonight's meeting, if you have a PC, Mac, iPad, phone, or Android device, the Zoom meeting ID is 976-8238-5860. The login password is 533980. And if you'd like to join us by telephone, the number is 1-669-900-6833. All right, moving on to item number 2, the consent calendar. We have no items on the consent calendar. Item number 3 is the public communication. This is the portion of the meeting where if anybody in the audience would like to make a comment on some item that's not on tonight's agenda, now's your chance.
Okay, there's a little bit of a delay on the television, so we'll wait for that, but we did not receive any emails. I'll let you know that on the agenda items. And it does not look like anyone's chiming in on Zoom either. So,
All right, great. All right, we'll move on to item 4, public hearings. We have one item for tonight. The project is Grower Square Master Sign Program Amendment. And do we have a staff report?
Thank you. Good evening, commissioners. My name is Haley Crawford, Associate Planner here, the City of Walnut Creek. And tonight I will be presenting the Grower Square Master Sign Program Amendment request for First Republic Bank. They will be located at 1656 North California Boulevard. And this is application Y20087. So the request before you tonight is to consider a master sign program amendment. The applicant is seeking 2 amendments, one for internally illuminated facelit logos and letters, and then a second for individual letters and logos attached directly to the building fascia, as opposed to a backer panel, which was approved in the MSP. And I have details of that. But just a quick refresher, the Grower Square complex is located between Civic and North California Boulevard. And this site specifically is on that corner right there, identified with the yellow star to the southwest. And the zoning is office commercial. So here are some details from the recently approved master sign program. And so the tenant is proposing to adhere to all letter heights, logo heights, locations, everything to that effect is consistent, but they are seeking those 2 illumination. And you see here where that backer panel was approved. It's an aluminum backing panel, and it was intended to be painted the fascia to match the fascia band. And its intent was really to reduce the kind of amount of kind of penetration into the building for installation, but the applicant is requesting individual letters mounted directly to the building. And so here's what they're proposing tonight. The proposal request is for, as I mentioned, facelit logos and letters. The letters would be a dark green color during the day, and then at night they would be illuminated facelit with a white. And I do have a video kind of showing that change coming up, but here's just a detail of it. And then, as I mentioned, there would be no backer panel. The letters would be mounted directly to the building. Here are some just renderings showing a day and night view of the signs proposed. And here's a good place where I can mention that there are two skyline sign locations. One facing north, which you see in this A.3. Then there's another one facing south, which I have a view of in a minute. And then there's a pedestrian-oriented sign A.2 facing North California. So 3 total signs, and they're all identical in terms of letter heights, logo heights, illumination request, and to not have that backer panel. And then here's another view where you see that second skyline sign. Both of these locations for the skyline signs are approved in the master sign program. And so here's that video showing that kind of dark green lettering during the day. And then at night, it does change to a white illumination, and then back to a green during the day. And the applicant did provide this video tonight, and they are here to answer any other questions you have about it. So in terms of the requests before you tonight, staff is supportive of the individual letters mounted directly to the building. It's typically what we prefer as opposed to a backer panel anyways. And so we are supportive of that request. And we're supportive of the facelit logo request, given that there are some more finer details of the logo that would be lost potentially with a halo lit illumination at night, because the face details wouldn't be shown. However, we aren't supportive of the facelit letter illumination proposal. And there's a few reasons outlined in the memo tonight, and I've put a couple up here. Our design guidelines encourage halo lit letters for office uses and skyline signs. And then this specific site is located south of Ignacio Valley Road, and it's adjacent to our pedestrian downtown area where halo letters are encouraged. And it's not immediate or visible from or immediately adjacent to the 680 freeway or the BART station, where facelit skyline signs have been recently approved. And so for those reasons, staff is not supportive of the facelit letters. And so staff is recommending that the commission adopt the draft resolution before you tonight, approving the amendment to the Grower Square Master Sign Program, with allowing for internally illuminated logos only. I'm here if you have any questions. We do have the applicant, as I mentioned, here tonight as well, if you have any questions for them. Thank you.
Hey, do we have any questions of staff?
And I have one. I'm just curious because the ordinance says encouraged versus required. Can you think of a situation where halo lit letters would be acceptable to the city?
Are you talking about the design guidelines?
The guideline, yes.
Yeah, so because they're design guidelines, they aren't an ordinance. They aren't necessarily written to be required. We don't have any sort of illumination regulations in our ordinance, and so we rely on the guidelines. Okay. And I think the second part of your question of where I could think of halo lit letters would be encouraged. I know that we
allowed, or
I know that we do. I mean, we have a mix of halo and facelit letters kind of throughout the city, but typically for any sort of office or even honestly pedestrian retail, more recently, there have been halo lit letters. I can think of the Lyric specifically right now. It's coming to mind as a kind of a commercial mixed use building, and their master sign program does include halo lit letters as a requirement for those spaces as well. They are more pedestrian oriented too.
Okay. We are moving more towards requiring halo lit, aren't we?
Yeah, just
The new guidelines.
I'll jump in and the design guidelines that talk about signage encourage halo lit in office situations, office buildings, and for skyline signs. So those two instances,
okay,
halo illumination is encouraged.
Thank you.
Casey?
I just wanted, so if it's not, sorry, maybe I should know this, but if it's not the halo lit for office or skyline, what is the next best option?
Well, I mean, the illumination kind of options, the main ones, you have halo lit where the faces are opaque and it's just backlit onto the building. Then you have obviously face lit where the faces are illuminated. Or you could have some sort of external illumination source, like a gooseneck light or something. That one we don't see as often, I'd say, but those are kind of the three main types of illumination.
Okay. Okay. Thanks.
Haley, we're seeing this again, so they're opening it up. Are we just looking at these, or is the whole master sign program open now that we're looking at?
So what's before you tonight is for the First Republic Bank, and so it's for that, the signs on the 1656 building. They are the only ones too that were approved with skyline signs. So no other building in the Grower Square Master Sign Program is allowed to even have skyline signs.
Okay, but my question is, we're reviewing this, so are we opening up the entire master sign program for this building to where other questions are fair game now? In terms of location of signs on this bank building, since we're looking at it?
Yeah, I mean, I think if the DRC had any other kind of conditions that they wanted to place on the amendment for the master sign program, that could be part of it tonight.
Okay, great. All right, I don't see any other hands. So if there's no other questions from Haley, thank you, Haley. If the applicant's here, they'd like to introduce themselves and make whatever presentation.
Hi, my name is Karina. I'm with First Republic Bank. I handle facility for the bank. I submitted the letter to explain why request the sign to be the interior illuminated. Do you have a chance to see the letter?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah, I tried to explain to you why request that, because I appreciate that Haley was very supportive of internally illuminate the logo, but if only the logo it's illuminated, but then the halo lettering, it just doesn't look very consistent. And also we used to use a lot of halo illumination for our signs, you know, when we started building branches about 35 years ago. And we found a lot of problems, I should say, with the halo lettering, because number one, only if your sign it's with a very even stroke, it looks nice. But unfortunately, our name has even and uneven strokes. So with the halo lighting, it just doesn't look as nice, especially in the evening. I mean, you know, lighting for the evening. And then also the level of lighting, it's just not, you know, it diminish very quickly over time. And also because the halo, the letter has to be away from the wall, and then that it's kind of created a space for all the birds to do the business over there. I mean, constant cleaning and everything, it doesn't look good on the building. So I tried to list, you know, all the detail, you know, reason why we request that. We lease the entire building. I don't think it's you're gonna open up a can of worm for other tenants, you know, for this complex. And we're the only tenant who occupy the entire building, and we try to comply with all the master sign program, every single item, you know, we try to comply. And the only thing we like to request is just the illuminated, you know, internally illuminated letters.
All right, great. Do you have anything else to present, or anybody else on your team that'd like to make a statement?
No, I think I'm the only one. It's my sign company. It's on the call. Terry Long is on the call. Maybe he can explain a little bit about the new sign technology or things like that. And also one more thing, we propose a dimming feature of the letters. So if you feel that the lighting level is too high, we can always dim it down. I mean, it's always adjustable.
Great. All right, we'll have some questions from the commissioners. You'll have a chance to respond, and then after that, we'll go into our comment
Sure.
phase. So let's open it up if any of the commissioners have some questions.
Charles.
Charles?
Yeah, hi. Hi, Karina. So I read and heard you reiterate why you want to go with the facelit versus the halo, namely one is cost, two is maintenance related to birds, et cetera. But the third one was, it just doesn't look that good with the type of fonts that you've got or letters with your sign. My question would be, do you have something you can show us where we could see that your lettering would just look terrible with halo lighting at night, so we could see what you're thinking? Because otherwise it's hard, to just sort of imagine, well, with the different font, the halo lighting doesn't work. Because in general, the halo lighting looks really nice on the signs that have it. So I don't know if you have anything you can share.
We can make a sample, just like the letter, the video showed. We can always make a sample and show it to you so that you can compare. We used to have quite a lot of all our older branches. They're all halo lettering, and then we went back and retrofit every single one with this new LED embedded letters now. So I don't have any location that I can just go and take a picture and show it to you, but we can always make a sample and show it to you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, anybody else?
I have a question regarding the lights. I think I understand that it's not possible to do halo lighting with LED lights. I think it's, did I read that right? Because you mentioned you're favorable to LED lights because lower maintenance, lower cost, less energy, et cetera, et cetera. But can't you do halo with LED lights?
That's something I need to have Terry answer that. Terry, are you on the call?
Yes, and yes, halo lighting can be done with LED lights. It's the where the stroke is narrow, but it's done. Halo goes back many years and was basically done with neon, and you space the letter off the building to get the lighting. In this case, what's happened in the last several years is neon's gone away and LEDs are here. And the letters that we showed you there it's actually an LED embedded. So the LEDs are inside the letters facing itself. So you don't get birds behind the letter and so forth. The letter can change color. It also can control the lighting. If you watch that video, we can dim the lighting so that the brightness can be controlled. And so with LEDs embedded, the letter form is all lit, and the ability to control the light is there.
Joseph, you had a question?
Yeah, have you ever done a halo lit logo? Because you said that you didn't like to have the inconsistency between the halo lit sets letters and a kind of a face lit logo. I noticed like Versace, as one of the businesses, has a really beautiful halo lit logo. And I'm just saying, you said I don't think you've ever done one before, because you said they're not consistent.
No. We did halo logo before, but what I'm saying this time, if you approve the halo, internally illuminated logo, but then yet we have to use a halo lettering for the name, it's just not consistent.
Okay, so how about going to a halo lit logo to make it consistent?
Well, that would go back to the number one reason that we like to request a variance is because the name, the stroke of our name is all different.
Okay. I hear what you said about the stroke, but I looked at other halo lit letters, like Kate Spade is the one that comes to me that has a similar letter with little, fonts and little I forget the embellishments on the letters and things. And I've seen their logo or their name in halo lit, and it looks quite nice. So I'm not getting the fact that the sign lettering doesn't come out in halo. It isn't ringing true to me.
I have some questions. Karina, what are the hours of the bank?
The operation hours, the branch, it's usually 9 to 5.
Okay, so, and how long do you anticipate having the lights on in the evening?
Oh, the light will usually come on when the sky's dark. We have what do you call that? We either use timer or the
Photo sensor?
yes.
Okay. And Haley, is there any conditions where it's only lit until 10 or 11 o'clock or anything?
Staff hasn't proposed any in the draft resolution, but that is something that could be proposed.
Okay, so as far as your day-to-day business operating, this lighting is more for advertising. It's not really bringing people in during the day when you're open. So,
Yes,
the other-
during the day, the sign's gonna show green, our branding color, which is green. And
Sure.
during the day, you just see a solid green letters. It's
but that would
only in
be
the evening.
irregardless of the lighting, wouldn't it?
Right, yeah,
So, okay, so lighting is just after hours.
after hours, yes, in the evening.
I'd like to kind of go in a little bit different direction here because I've been driving around the building and everything. And Haley, if you could go back to the one, do you have a shot of it on the Civic elevation? That would be the main entry to the bank.
Give me 1 second. Oh. So I have these two. I don't have one directly. I mean, they each kind of.
Well, that might
Yeah.
work out well there. I'm taking another shot at this, that I don't think that in this view, that skyline sign is appropriate for several reasons. Number one, your main entrance is there. And I think the sign is more appropriate on the second level over the main door, where it's introducing the bank, that's where you enter the front door. The other reason is from that viewpoint, as you're going northbound on Broadway, or California, excuse me, that sign isn't visible until probably the last 100 feet or so. So again, there's no long range view advantage of having it up there. And it just seems to be a, for the sake of signage and not really working with the pedestrian wayfinding and more of the downtown. So again, I'm since we're opening this up again, I want to suggest that a skyline sign is not appropriate on this elevation. I don't mind it on the second elevation if it would, because it's more centered over the entryway. And then if you go back, Haley, do you have the other elevation if you're going right?
Mm-hmm.
Again, I don't mind it on the third floor there, but again, what I'm sensing now is again, we're almost over-signing this. Again, this is still kind of in the downtown area. And again, for a bank that's operating 9 to 5, to have these lit up at night on all three sides, it just doesn't work for me. So again, I want to make a pitch, take a look at it and say, let's limit some of this where it makes sense and it works with the building, it works with the neighbors, and it's just not brightening up the sky.
If I remember correctly, I think we're not allowed to have a sign on the second floor, either the top level or the ground level, and then you're not supposed to have sign on the adjacent elevation, if I remember correctly, according to the master program.
That's correct. Currently, there's no sign approved at all on the second level, and then the skyline signs were limited to maximum of 2, and they could not be on adjacent facades. So essentially it's really the north and the south, if they're gonna have more than one. And then the lower level or skyline signs could not be on the same elevation.
So if the sign that's facing California is well, what we're saying is really it can only go on the north and south sides of the building then, the way it's written. Is that true?
Unless they only wanted one.
In
And
which
then-
case it'd have to be fronting on California.
Right, and they could not have done the lower level sign on that facade.
Okay. I still think, thanks for clarifying that, but again, the one that's fronting on Civic, again, I'm opposed to it being on that skyline and that it just, it's not there for any reason other than, having a sign. There's no long range views. It doesn't correlate to the entryway or pedestrian use. It's just up in the air. And I think it's just a sign for the sake of having a sign. So anyway, I wanted to throw that out. But
Brian,
let's
can I
move on.
dovetail on that real quick, just to
Sure.
ask a quick question? Haley, do the skyline signs with two of them, one on north and south and this one, does it meet the standard sign guidelines of the city where they occupy the whole building and they're not over the square footage that they normally would be given? Or is this an exception to have two of them like that?
No, in this case, they actually didn't need an exception for these skyline signs because they meet the requirements that they occupy the entire building. And so there was no sort of exceptions for these, and they do meet the ordinance in terms of overall square footage.
Okay, I thought that's what I heard. So I was just kind of concerned about removing signs that meet the sign ordinance, Brian. I thought these were all conforming.
Right. Now I'm coming from just whether it makes sense,
Yeah.
and, location on the building and design rather than just looking at it, because we can put a sign up there, let's do it.
Got it.
So anyway, unless there's any other comments on that, let's move on. Were there any other questions?
Charles. Yeah, so Karina, this is not just a branch building. You have operations in here, right? A good number of
Yes.
operations employees. And,
Yes.
and I guess when I think about it that way, it's sort of like a lot of the other skyline signs that we've recently worked on as a commission where, it sort of, in fact, is partially advertising, partially wayfinding. It meets a mix of uses. And so I think that I consider it appropriate because it's not just a branch, it's an operation center. So that's just a comment that I have.
Okay.
Yes, we are really making this building as a regional office in the East Bay.
Okay.
Thank you.
There's no more questions. I'm going to open it up to the public at this point. If there's anybody in the public that would like to make a comment on this item, again, the ID number is 976-8238-5860, and the password is 533-9800, 980, and the telephone is 1-669-900-6833.
Okay, nothing yet, Mr. Chair. If you want to wait just a second, but I don't anticipate any comments. And no emails.
Okay. Okay, I'll close the public hearing, bring it back. Corinna, did you have any last comment? We're going to go into a comment. We'll make comments now and kind of deliberate it. Is there any last comments you'd like to make or anything?
No, I just wish you approve it. That's all.
What a novelty, huh? Novel idea. All right.
Yeah, give me a New Year present.
Sure. Okay, do we have any comments or do we want to? kick this around a little bit?
Well, I'll start by saying that I have nothing against the location. I think we covered that ground before, so I think the sign and Haley just confirmed that it complies with our regulations. I definitely do not like the facelift. I think the halo, we should retain the halo. I mean, if that's the look we want, if that's the look we've been working for Walnut Creek, I mean, I think we should be consistent. So I'm against the facelift. I'm all for the halo like it was approved before. And then like Haley says as well, I wouldn't mind that the logo could be facelift, but just the logo.
I can jump in because I'm gonna second that. I think that some of the skyline signs we were looking at on other buildings, for me, the scale of those is really different, and the height of those signs from the pedestrian experience is really different. So for me, I do think that this is a pedestrian oriented part of town, and I think that it does need to have that graceful feel of the halo. And I was looking at some signs while we were sitting here, and I've seen a couple of the combination of the facelit with the halo. And I think the distinction between the logo and the identification of the letters and the brand, it doesn't bother me that they're different. And so I would prefer to see these halo lit. I think it's more appropriate for this location. And I agree with Carlos, the location of the signs, I think is fine.
This is Charles. I'll jump in. So in terms of the present for the applicant, correct me if I'm wrong, Ken, but I think, or Haley, isn't this the first skyline sign we approved?
Yes, as far as I can.
Yeah. So that was sort of a pretty big present from Design Review Commission. You should be honored to have the first ever approved skyline sign in downtown Walnut Creek. I was doing like Commissioner Case, I was looking at halo lit signs online, and I found sort of a really interesting example. I found one for Smith Barney. So it has a different stroke like yours. So the first letters of Smith and Barney are larger than the rest of the words, and it looks quite nice halo lit. And then their umbrella logo is actually halo lit, and it looks quite nice. I am not opposed to the logo being face lit, but frankly, I think it would look better if even you mentioned consistency. I think it would look better if it was all halo lit, to be honest. And all that being said, I very much feel these should be halo lit, and I can be flexible on the logo.
I just want to get a quick clarification. I don't think this is actually the first skyline sign we've approved downtown, because there are other ones, and since it does meet the ordinance, correct, Haley? So it's not really that this is an exception. It's just one of the few that we've seen that actually meets the ordinance as it's written, correct?
So the ordinance allows skyline signs with DRC's approval if the building or the tenant meets those certain requirements, one being that they occupy the entire floor area.
Got it.
So it still does need DRC's approval regardless, but.
All right, I've always been the one that doesn't like skyline signs for the most part, so I've never really been very positive about them. I think facelit letters are too bright, particularly when there's 3 sets of them on the building. The idea of adjusting them later just doesn't work for me. It never really happens. I think that the halo lit is a lot more sophisticated, and that's what the city encourages downtown. I think with all these signs on the building, it's really the only way to go. Yes, it needs maintenance, but that's just part of having a building downtown. So I don't see it as an issue. Like I said, the Versace sign has a really nice halo lit logo, so I would love to see that. But I concur that having facelit logo and halo lit letters works fine. So I'm okay with that, and I'm all right with the building. I hate to say it, but I'm okay with the sign on the top of the building facing Civic because it does meet the ordinance.
Okay, I have nothing more to add. I agree with the commissioner. So let's see if we can put together a motion. Anybody like to give it a shot?
I'll take a stab, it's Charles. I would move that we we disallow from the applicant's request the face lit letters. So the letters shall be halo lit. We will allow the letters individually to be mounted to the building without the backer board. And we will allow either the logo to either be face lit or halo lit.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second that. Oh, sorry. Go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, before we take a vote, I just want to throw out, it's from what I heard tallying up, most commissioners were in favor of the consistency of keeping everything halo lit, of which I am too. I would like to, if the makers amenable to that, make it consistent rather than just leaving it open one way or the other. Is there any?
Well,
support for that?
honestly, I would do that. I would not do halo and then facelit for the logo. It just doesn't look good.
That's fine.
Okay, then I would amend the motion that the letters and the logo shall be halo lit.
I still second that.
Okay, Ken, could we have a vote?
Yeah, I'll just add for clarification, that's what the sign program calls for right now. So the only change, if you're amenable to that, would be that the lettering does not need to be attached to a backing panel. Is that right, Haley? Did we get everything there?
Yep, that's correct.
And I think Charles mentioned that in his motion.
Did you want to, I think in the motion, should we specifically state that we're denying the facelit lettering and logo and allowing the direct application of the signage to the building?
Here, I think you just said it.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Yeah, that's implied. Excuse me. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Commissioner Krilling
Yes.
and Commissioner Gorney,
Yes.
Commissioner Valia,
Yes.
Vice Chair Case,
Yes.
and Chair Killian.
Yes,
Motion carries unanimously.
all right. Thank you. Good luck with your signs.
Thank
All right,
you.
we're gonna move on to item number 5, the commission considerations. Do we have any tonight?
There are none, Mr. Chair.
Okay, item number 6, commission member and staff reports or announcements.
Any commissioners have anything?
Are we revoting for new sign subcommittee members?
Well,
It was requested earlier.
we can certainly entertain that if
Boy,
you'd like.
Carlos and I sure have big smiles.
Failed.
So I am very
Like,
happy.
I'm out of here.
Where'd Charles go?
Let's go.
Let's go.
Where? He's like, I'm gonna get out before they.
No, I was demoted to an attendee. So I was duly muted.
Uh-oh.
Well, if we're allowed to do that, allow me to make a motion that maybe Casey and Charles, if they feel so inclined, be honored to be on the sign subcommittee.
It's not that bad.
You know, I've always been warned that when someone says it's not that bad, it's an opportunity, you
To
know,
excel.
you don't want to miss this.
Yep.
What do you think, Casey? Should we do it?
No, I'm not up for it.
You're not up for sign?
Not right now.
We
Ask me
can,
again in 6 months.
we can, yeah, and I think we've done that in the past, is that is we alternate maybe one person in to change up the makeup. That way there's a little history
Yeah. That helps.
involved, but it's up to you. And by the way, I'm the third
Eeny, meeny,
member.
miny, moe.
I'm the third member of the science subcommittee. So
You're
so
stuck.
if I'm all by myself, I'm going to be really hurt.
I Carlos, pick a number between 1 and 10.
You go first. I have it here.
4.
You got it, Charles.
You win.
Okay, Charles and we're the science subcommittee. Do we need a second and a vote on that, or?
Well, yeah, it doesn't really require any motion, but
Right.
we can recognize that. And let's see, I'm trying to think if we've got anything coming up. We do have Sun Subcommittee set for February 3rd, where we're going to look at the Ignacio Center is coming in for a match sign program. And that's going to be the lower level signs and freestanding signs, and they're changing up the existing freestanding signs and so forth. So they're although we've looked at the skylines, that's going to be a little bit those are separate from this sign program. So we will be looking at those in February. So
Ken, do we have
Alrighty.
anything, oh, sorry, do we have anything that's coming up that's under construction that we're going to be looking at colors in the field? It doesn't seem like there's anything that far along. I know Marilyn and I were in a lot of those committees for a while, so I just wasn't sure what's coming up.
yeah, the Ignacio Center is going to be putting some coloring. Matter of fact, is
building?
Simmer Gill,
Mhm.
assistant planner, will be contacting both you and Commissioner Case to look at some samples
Okay.
on the. In fact, she mentioned that the applicant wanted to put the paint samples on plywood and then hold those up at the building. But I was gonna leave it up to you folks whether that would be okay or not, or just have them paint some swatches on the actual building. I thought so.
I like it better on the building unless they do up like a primer on the board, because you really have to see it. One thing nice about something about the board is they can move it in and out of the sun if we need to. So I'm not that bad with the board as long as they prime it first with a reasonable color and then paint over it. So it's going to be the actual color.
And like a reasonable texture, you know, I mean, because I can't remember off the top of my head what the texture of the building is, but if the wood's significantly different, it's just not comparable, you know?
Yeah. And if it's on siding or some other kind of textured material, it has to be on a sample of that.
Right.
Okay, well, maybe we can have them put some paint swatches on the building, both in the sun and around the back in the shade.
I literally can't remember the building, so I can't remember if that has any brick. A lot of times if they do brick, we want it up against the brick so we can see the materials that we can't change. So, you know, as long as there's enough to see, I think we'll be okay with it.
Okay, I'll pass that along to Simmer. Okay, so sign subcommittee, we've got Brian and Charles, huh?
I will mention again, as I mentioned to Ken earlier, that the Target has started their warehouse building in the front.
Oh.
And their front parking lots are absolutely horrible right now because they turned both of them into dead ends. So you get a line of 6 cars that are each trying to do a K-turn in the middle. So I've recommended to Ken to talk to transportation and see if they can fix that.
Yeah, and we should have some engineering inspectors who can help out with that as well. So I'll let them know.
Thanks. Park downstairs.
I've got one item, Mr. Chair, if there are no others from the commissioners. Let's see, I just wanted to announce that the division will be, Community Development Department will be getting a new director. Who will be replacing Sandy Meyer, who retired. So this gentleman is named Mark Wardlaw, and he starts February 1st. He used to be, or I should say, let me start with currently is Director of Planning and Development Services for the County of San Diego. He was Community Development Director for the town of Mammoth Lakes. And then he also worked at the city of San Diego and helped revitalize the gas lamp district. So he comes with a lot of experience. And like I said, he'll start February 1st. Don't know if you'll be working very closely with him, but I just thought I'd pass that along for your information.
Perfect. Great. Congratulations to Sandy.
Yes.
All right, with that, Happy New Year, everybody, and we're adjourned.
Bye. Thank you.
See
All right,
you,
thank you.
everyone.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye.